Hello chemistry fans, and welcome back to chemistry problem solving session for chemistry 1032. I am your host, Dr. Russell Betts, and I'll be guiding you through this problem. It looks a little intimidating. Lots of blank spaces in the table again. Well, let's read the table carefully and let's make sure we know what we're doing. The element name, well, that comes from the periodic table, so that's not too hard. Element symbol, that's from the periodic table, so that's not too hard. Atomic number, that's also in the periodic table, so that's not very hard. Number of protons, well, I know the atomic number and the number of protons are the same, so that's pretty simple. Number of electrons, well, these are all atoms, so all atoms are neutral, so the protons must equal the electrons. Okay? Number of neutrons, that's a little trickier, but nothing we can't handle. And the mass number is just the protons plus the neutrons. So I think this will be okay. I think we'll be all right. I think it just looks intimidating, and I think that we are smart enough to know that even though it looks intimidating, it's probably not all that bad. So let's write a few things down before we start. Mass number equals the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. That's an important thing to know. That's going to help us solve these two things out here. These two columns out here. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Don't get panicky. Stay calm. Let's do the first one together. Titanium. Well, titanium is simply an element. So we get out the periodic table, find titanium, it's right there. Element symbol Ti, atomic number 22. So right now, we already know a bunch of the blanks in the column on that first row. So let's slide the table down. Titanium is element number 22. Symbol is Ti. And so far we filled in two little blanks in the table relatively quickly just by using the periodic table. So we know the atomic number is 22, so that means the number of protons is also 22, because protons and the atomic number are the same thing. All right, number of electrons. Well, we know that the number of electrons equal the number of protons in an atom, so these also must be 22. Now the little harder one is the number of neutrons. Let me bring the periodic table back up. On this table, you will find no information about a number of neutrons. There is no information at all that can be derived from this table about the number of neutrons. So please don't try. You also cannot figure out the mass number from this table. These little numbers below the elements, those are not mass numbers. Do not use them as mass numbers because they are not mass numbers. Common error for students is to use these numbers down here as mass numbers. Those are called something else, which we'll get to later on. But right now, just ignore them. They don't even exist at this point. Later on in the class, we will talk about them and we will use them. So the number of neutrons must be derived from this formula. So we know the mass number. The mass number is 48. So now, the number of neutrons, number of n neutrons, equals the mass number minus the number of protons. So that's my expression, or my formula, if you will, for the number of neutrons. So let's get out the handy dandy calculator and let's do some math. So now it's going to be 48, that's the mass number, minus 22, that's the number of protons. So the number of neutrons is 26. Okay, simply the mass number, let me do it again on the calculator. The mass number is 48 minus 22, number of protons over here, equals 26. Okay? Simple arithmetic problem. All right. Element C. Let me bring back the table. Element C is right here on the old periodic table. It's carbon, atomic number 6. It's written right above the letter. Atomic number 6. All right, so we know the atomic number is 6. So let's write that down real quick before we forget. Atomic number 6, and this is carbon. There we are. Number of protons, 6. Atomic number and the number of protons is always the same for a given element. So the number of electrons is also the same as the number of protons because protons equal neutrons in atoms. The number of neutrons is 6. It just so happened to be 6. It could have been 7 or 5 or 8. Happened to be 6 in this instance. So to figure out the mass number is the number of protons plus neutrons. So the number of protons is 6 plus the number of neutrons is 6 equals 12. The mass number for that particular atom of carbon is 12. All right, now we're given the atomic number. So let's just fill in some blanks real quick. If we know the atomic number, we know the number of protons. It must be 3. We also know the electrons. It must also be 3. We haven't even looked at the periodic table yet. Just from that information, we knew 2 of the blanks in that row. So let's get out the handy-dandy periodic table. We find element number 3, atomic number 3, that's lithium. Lithium is atomic number 3. So let's put that over there. It's going to be Li, or lithium. So we fill those blanks in. Now we want to know the number of neutrons. Again, number of neutrons is the mass number minus the number of protons. So let's get out our calculator again. The mass number is 7. Mass number 7 minus the number of protons. Number of protons equals, of course, 4. All right, let's keep going. Now we're doing this for a reason. We're hammering these points home for a reason, because I want this to be, basically I want it to be automatic. I want you just to know how to do these problems so that there's no thinking involved. It's just an automatic thing for you to do. All right, number of electrons. Well, if the number of electrons are 2, the protons must equal that because the atoms are neutral. And the atomic number must also be 2 because the protons and the atomic number are always the same. If there's 2 protons, your atomic number is 2. Now, the name of the element and the symbol of the element. Let's get out the table. Atomic number 2 is helium, He. So let's write that down. Helium, He. Make sure I didn't make a silly spelling error there. All right, so it's helium, element He, number of protons is 2, and the number of neutrons is 2. Obviously, we don't need our calculator for this, but we're going to get it anyway. Number of protons is 2, number of neutrons is 2. Mass number of protons, 2, plus, number of protons, 2, plus the number of neutrons, 2, equal 4. So the mass number here would be 4. All right, here's our good friend barium again. Mass number 133. All right, put the periodic table back up here. Here's our friend barium. Barium has 56 protons. It has an atomic number of 56. So barium, Ba, atomic number 56. So if the atomic number is 56, the number of protons is also 56. Because atoms are neutral, the number of electrons are 56. Now, we have to figure out the number of neutrons. Let's grab our calculator. Number of neutrons is the mass number minus the protons. Okay? Here's our mass number here. There's our protons over here. Simply type it in. 133, the mass number, minus, 56, the number of protons, equals 77 neutrons. Okay? Now the table looked pretty intimidating. Lots of blank spaces that we had to fill in. But as you can see, a lot of it was directly derived from the periodic table. and the last two columns were basic, simple math questions, simply adding or subtracting, depending on the circumstance. So I hope this was a helpful video. I hope it clarified a lot of questions. If you have additional questions or still can't quite figure this out, please do not hesitate to contact one of the tutors here at the LRC. Also, if you want to, come by and see me in my office hours, or your professor in their office hours. And don't let this slide by. It's a very important topic. So please come on by and visit us. And with that, I would like to wish you good luck and good chemistry.